Batman, Gotham by Gaslight, The Kryptonian Age, issue 5. Andy Diggle writing with Leonardo Fernandez on the art. So, last issue, we had someone in electricity being held captive by Lex Luthor. I think one of our comments guessed, what if this is Electric Blue Superman? And for a minute, for like one page, I thought, oh, maybe they're right, because Lex says he's had him captive for about 30 years, and I'm like, that sounds about the age of Superman. And then, of course, quite quickly, you find out, no, this was a lab assistant who was struck by lightning that hit something that looked very much like a flash symbol on the desk. And it turns out this is, in fact, Jay Garrick. So, yeah. So, the tragedy of Jay Garrick in this version of the universe is that Lex Luthor has held him prisoner for 30 years experimenting on him.
And he's using him as a energy source, right? Yeah. Also, I do like that this ties also the whole Kryptonian thing, because he talks about he sees something that comes across as he's doing the experiments. And when you see that the lightning strikes that flash symbol looking device, Lex has a head full of red hair, right? And then when that explodes, that's what burns it off. So I do like that they're still playing within those guidelines that, you know, Superman's coming has something to do with him not having hair anymore.
Well, yeah, that's the whole separate part of this I hadn't even mentioned yet, is that Superman's ship seemingly did not come all the way from Krypton. Apparently, it was something that was secretly orbiting the Earth for a long time, and it was because of a big solar flare, which is also what led to the it was so Superman's ship landing is what made the lightning strike the thing in the lab, which caused the accident, which made Jay Garrick a speedster and took Lex Luthor's hair. But it sounds like, no, this was something that was ancient, that was orbiting the Earth. Again, tied into this idea that the Kryptonian Age was this time from before, as opposed to just, stuff from Krypton. But yeah, very curious. And we'd been saying for a while that, okay, we've introduced the Green Lantern. I expect Golden Age Flash to pop up soon as well. And obviously we got the Victor Stone introduction last issue, which, by the way, Lex in this universe is an evil prick. Not only is he kept Jay Garrick in this box for however long, right?
30 years.
30 years. He intentionally, when Victor declines working with them because he thinks this is inhumane, he even gives him a "I said good day." He gives him one of those. When he drives off in his car, Lex just pulls out a detonator and blows him up. And I'm like, okay, this is how he gets to the point where he's missing half of his limbs and needs cyborg parts. Okay, that's Lex Luthor's doing.
This is him at his pettiest. He goes, oh, yeah, great chance to try out my remote detonator. And then just boom, you're just like, oh my God. I love, as much as, Lex is one of my favorite characters because he does have that redeeming quality and he could use his powers for good, but he's petty and he won't. He doesn't like the fact that people like Superman more than him. And here it's even beyond that, where he's just like, watch me, mad scientist.
Oh yeah, and it makes sense that they're going the mad scientist route because this is obviously set in the olden days, so it fits thematically. We go back to Gotham and Bruce is prepping something. Turns out to be a bat zeppelin. So more on that later.
So when his girlfriend, his wife, whoever she is, it's not Selena, it's the other girl.
Yeah. Although, at the end of this scene though, when Batman's leaving to go on his zeppelin, which is he's going to investigate the train crash because there's that ring's been compromised, right? So that's what he's going to investigate. That's why he's taking the bat zeppelin, which he's given giant bat wings, might we add. He kisses this woman goodbye, and I wasn't sure who she was either. But then she basically says, "Hey, Alfred, you were in like the military, right? Why don't you teach me some art of the blade?" Which made me think, wait, is this maybe like Batgirl or someone? Like, who is this? Like, who's Alfred training here?
Yeah. But yeah, so she talks about, Batman's a necessity, but he can't be in all places at once. And then they're looking up at something, and he goes, the bat wings might be a touch too much. And Bruce just looks at it and goes, the bat wings are entirely necessary. I didn't realize they were talking about the Zeppelin. I thought they were talking about just Batman in general.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when we get the first look of the, I'm like, oh my God, those are giant bat wings. That gave me a good chuckle.
Yeah, because it rises up through the roof of this big industrial building, and then you just see him flying up. And I love that you get him, like, manning the big wheel like an old boat, and then you just get a close up of his face, and he's smirking because he's so proud of his Bat Zeppelin.
Oh, I love it. It's so we get to say the phrase Bat Zeppelin. Like, it's so fun.
Yeah. So I'm really curious how this woman turns out to be, because I don't remember her from previous issues, and the fact that she's going to be trained and possibly become a fighter definitely makes me think she's one of the characters we know from Batman lore.
Yeah, well, no, she's Julie Madison. That's who he marries in this universe.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yes. So that's, I had to look up her name here because she's in the roster on League of Comics.
Okay, that's less interesting then. That doesn't mean anything.
But the fact though too that she wants to be trained in that way. I mean, who's to say she doesn't become Robin and is a swashbuckling sidekick to the Gotham?
Yeah, I suppose.
Batman by Gaslight,
They could do something with that, I suppose. But my mind, I'd forgotten who she was, so my mind was racing about, okay, who are they setting up here? Back to Lex and Cyborg. Cyborg wakes up. It turns out it's been considered, and Lex is like, hey, you should be thanking me. You're alive because of me. Although he reveals like 2 pages later that he had him declared dead. So, Vic's, his is to do as he pleases. He can do whatever he wants to him, and no one's ever going to come. And he sees that his legs are missing. He's lost an arm. He's absolutely in shock. He wants to, kill Lex, clearly. He wants to, he's imagining it. And Lex is like, oh yeah, you're thinking of, strangling me, right? Yeah, think of that. And then he looks over, and there's, a Terminator-style arm on the table. He's like, aha, the mind wills it, and the limbs obey. So, by provoking Victor into, wanting to squeeze his hand, he's, obviously he's already hooked him up to this arm, and the arm's squeezing his fingers. So... yeah. Knowing
where technology was in the 1890s, the amount of oil and pneumatic tubes and stuff that's going into this, that really stretching Luthor's resources here.
I'm very curious as to what steampunk Cyborg is going to look like, all things considered. But again, this just fits into the mad scientist stuff that we've got going with Lex. Pardon me.
Yeah. And the way that he's in the shadows here, and he's blue, it makes him very inhuman.
Oh yeah.
As we're looking at him, which I think is a nice touch.
Yeah, that panel at the bottom of the page before the arm, where he's sort of tilting his head up a little bit, as Vic's leaning forward. There's something just so devilish about the way he kind of looks on that panel that I really like. There's a quick interlude here where we get Constantine on a boat, and I believe the Phantom Stranger comes to extract knowledge from him.
Yeah. Who's I don't believe is the Phantom Stranger as we know him. I feel the way that the scene plays out, where how he gets the information, is says he's just a stranger here. This is Martian Manhunter, if I had to guess.
Well, he's a telepath. That would make sense, because he does take the information from his head, and he would fit in as a Justice League member, since we're introducing all of those. So yeah, Constantine's just sort of left pissed off.
It's that panel where after he lifts him up into the sky, and we just get the eyes, right?
Yeah, the red glowing eyes. Yeah,
and there's just a bit of green bouncing off of him.
It was the way it bolded the word stranger, in the same way that it bolded the word Flash earlier on when Lex was talking about Jay. I thought, oh, is that who this is meant to be? But I think you're right. I think it's Jean, which is cool. And then we go to Smallville. Lois is there with Jimmy because they were sent there last issue, and Alan Scott's trying to sell rides in his balloon, claiming that he's got a magic power from his ring. But when Lois actually challenges him and calls him a huckster, he tries to demonstrate and he can't do it, which shows that he's not actually mastered how to. Because obviously the only time he's used it so far is when he was in under threat of death. It kind of triggered it, but he doesn't really know how to actually do it yet. So Lois kind of mocks him, and he's like, "Come on, let me make a living." It's the whole thing.
Oh crap! It's Lois Lane. More characters need to have that reaction when they see Lois. Jesse's like, "Oh no, not her." She's gonna sniff out the BS. I thought that was really good too.
So issue 5, we finally get the introduction. We build up this entire last sequence as a build up to meeting Superman, right? Or Sheriff Kent, I suppose, is maybe a better way of putting it.
The Sheriff of Smallville, which that is a great nickname.
Because they mentioned, there's rumors that the sheriff in this town that we've not seen yet is the luckiest man alive. And because that was bolded, I was like, luckiest man alive? Who's that implying? And I was racking my brain. Who's a lucky character in DC? And nothing was clicking. And it wasn't until, of course, so this deputy shows up and he tries to have a standoff with this criminal who was trying to stab a guy and doesn't do very well because, the bad guy's backed up by a mysterious man in black who turns out to be Deadshot. And he's like, the fastest gun in the West, makes sense to do that. Deadshot is that type of character. Yeah. And Deadshot shoots off the deputy's belt, shoots off the deputy's gun, and is about to kill him. And they mention, there's a rumble coming. And then we sort of realize when he shows up that rumble's, Superman running at super speed, which makes me wonder if he can fly yet, actually. Maybe he's not figured that out.
Maybe not. The cover would suggest otherwise, right? As he's hovering in the air there.
That's true.
Covers aren't necessarily.
It could be building up to him learning to do that. You don't know
for sure.
But he sort of like shows up. He's got a red jacket on. He's wearing the glasses, and of course he Deadshot fires his pistols. And Clark goes down, but then he just gets up and says, "Oh, I'm a klutz, I tripped." and Deadshot's like, "I didn't miss." What's the meaning of this?
Well, and I love whoever the guy that's with Deadshot is like, "You missed him." He goes, "The hell I did." Just that sneer on his face.
And then Clark specifically moves so that the sheriff's badge takes the next bullet, and then he just uses his heat vision to heat up the guns. And then he just sort of gets up and goes, "Oh golly, a double misfire like that. That's firearms are dangerous." Because everyone was sort of mocking him as he walked in because they're like, "Wait, he's a sheriff with no guns," and he's like, "Nah, I don't really like them." So basically, the end of this issue is Clark's arresting Deadshot. Is that both the page before and the final page is basically that this is piquing the interest of both Lois, who thinks, there's something more to this. He's not just lucky, and she's, her journalist nose is tingling. But the last page is, a man in a black hat and a black coat watching in shadows, and I'm like, okay, that's Batman, and he's civvies, and he is watching this and going, there's something more to this guy. This is Batman, again, much like Lois with the journal, investigation skills. This is Batman's detective skills being there's more to this. This is someone.
It shows him holding those knives, right?
Yes.
So do you think he was going to wing those at Deadshot in case?
I think that's the implication, that he was going to step in and stop it from happening.
Because I didn't think this was... I thought this was somebody more sinister, but that makes much more sense because he's all in shadow. He's dressed super nice, right?
Because we see him get to the train briefly, right? Before this scene. You see the Bat Zeppelin. You see the Bat Zeppelin over where the train tracks were, and you see him look at the Green Lantern trunk or whatever it is. So he he knows to look for the big green balloon, basically. Right. So he's come to Smallville. So we've said this before, but it's worth mentioning again. This was originally a 12-issue book. All of a sudden it changed to 6. There is not a way in hell that the next issue ends this story.
No.
Not even a chance. So maybe they're going to retitle it and renumber it to try and just boost sales in the middle. I don't really care, but they better finish the whole thing.
Because this has been fantastic.
Yeah,
it's one of the books I look forward to the most. Yeah. And again, no Wonder Woman this one, but I didn't miss it because we had so much other stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, we've established her. She's on her way.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite a thing seeing all the different Justice League members come together. It is interesting though that we're dealing with Golden Age versions of Flash and Green Lantern. We've got these, Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman are obviously go back to that time as well. It is funny that Martian Manhunter is a bit more recent of a creation, and then Cyborg's even more recent than that. It's interesting that they made the choice to include some of these. I guess it's just good for the sake of variety, but that's interesting. No Aquaman though, at least yet.
Not yet. I mean, we haven't been up to kind of the waters. It's just kind of Gotham. Gotham Harbor's the closest, but we do know the League of Shadows is running around, right? Catwoman's running around still. There's still so much other stuff that if this is supposed to be the second to last issue, there's still so mumuch stuff in the air. There's no way it's going to be fulfilling if it's just 6 issues.
I feel like maybe Clark and Bruce like talking to each other for the first time could very well be the end of the thing.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what, but like it really feels like this is just ending the introduction to the story as opposed to like, you know, ending the story. Like this feels like part one of how maybe they even extended it. Maybe they've split it into like, okay, this first book's only going to be 6 issues, but there are going to be 2 more 6-issue books. It'll be a trilogy now or something. I don't know, but there's not a way in hell this ends with 1 more issue. We've barely got started. We've just introduced Lex being an evil prick. Like we're not there yet.
Yeah, no, and just the introduction of Clark as this bumbling sheriff. He kind of has a Jimmy Stewart quality to him. You know, he's wearing the white hat. Everything feels about right, you know.
Red coat, blue trousers, yellow ascot thing.
A lot of fun, and just Deadshot the hell I did. Like that's straight from a Western. You know, like I just watched The Quick and the Dead, and I had Gene Hackman's character written all over him. It's
good stuff. Yeah, been enjoying this book. It was a nice surprise when it started, and obviously now I just look forward to it every month because it's been great. What are you giving Kryptonian Age issue 5?
I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Yeah, I find it hard to argue with that. I'll go straight 8, I think.
Okay.
I'm gonna go straight 8. I don't have much of a reason other than just I don't know. It's what I feel. It's what I'm feeling in my heart. I do that a lot too.
Yeah.